British Columbia's central coastal region. A diverse network of remote inlets, sheltered coves, and soaring mountain peaks. It is one of the world's most barren stretches of awe-inspiring coast. Towering fields of glacial ice.
Many of the smaller glaciers will likely disappear in the next 100 years.
An ecosystem recovering from natural disaster.
This either could be due to climate change or due to overfishing.
And incredible wildlife.
The main thing is that I can carry these images with me and tell a story.
Now, we reveal the coastlines like never before, unlocking the secrets of our maritime past, present, and future. Canada, over the edge. British Columbia's Johnston Strait is a narrow 110-kilometer-long waterway separating Vancouver Island from the BC mainland. The strait is lined by rocky beaches and home to pristine islands shrouded in dense forest. It is a sheltered channel offering safe passage, key for navigation. Further northwest, these waters widen, and Johnston Strait becomes Queen Charlotte Strait. In the distance lies Broughton Archipelago Marine Provincial Park. It is British Columbia's largest marine park, measuring more than 11,000 hectares. Here, dozens of tiny undeveloped islands and islets line the horizon. Broughton Archipelago is one of the West Coast's most stunning landscapes, a palette of white beaches and rocky outcroppings, backed by the coast mountains. It is named after William Robert Broughton, a 19th century British naval officer, one of the first European explorers along these coasts. But civilization here dates back much farther. The islands of the archipelago were settled thousands of years ago by the First Nations, a traditional home for the Kwakwaka'wakw peoples. All along these shores, clam terraces and petroglyphs can still be found, enduring signs of the region's first inhabitants. Heading northeast, the contours of Knight Inlet lead 125 kilometers inland. It is a spectacular winding waterway, the fifth of British Columbia's major coastal inlets north of the Canada-US border. Inland, the walls of the inlet rise, leading to another scenic wonder. High above sea level, the Haltzuk ice field measures more than 3,600 square kilometers. It is the largest ice field in the Coast Mountains south of Alaska, a frigid landscape with vast frozen plateaus and soaring icy peaks. It is also a changing landscape. The glaciers of British Columbia are intriguing scientists around the world.
Glaciers are an accumulation of snow and ice, and typically they're thick enough to deform under their own weight. British Columbia, like many mountain areas, has a whole host and a number of glaciers that exist at high elevation.
Glaciers are key to British Columbia, providing fresh water to communities and a source of clean, renewable electricity through the movement of melting snow and ice. Dr. Brian Menounos and his team are mapping and recording the size and shape of BC's glaciers.
In British Columbia alone, they represent about 25,000 square kilometers of the landscape. And back in 1985, it was more like 30,000. Glacier inventory is much like an inventory that a supermarket would have. In the context of glaciers and climate change, a glacier inventory is a wonderful way to represent not only the total amount of ice or glaciers that you have, but the number and the size classes of individual glaciers. All of these different glaciers have a different response to climate and response time. So by having a glacier inventory, and more importantly, having multiple glacier inventories for a particular region, we have a way to quantify how those glaciers are changing through time. There are a number of ways that we can quantify the changes in a glacier length, its area, or in many cases, its elevation. So fortunately, in the last 20 to 30 years, we've had a host of different satellites with varied sensors that allow us to not only look at the area of glaciers, but also the elevation or the particular surface of those glaciers and how those surfaces may thin or in some cases thicken through time. Some of the work that we've been doing in the Coast Mountains really shows the dramatic loss that's been occurring for many of the glaciers in this part of the province. And in British Columbia alone, we know that the glaciers have undergone a loss in area of about 11%.
One of the best case studies for glacial change can be found not far from the waters of Knight Inlet at Kleenekleen Glacier.
Kleenekleen Glacier is about 480 to 500 square kilometers in area. And work by our team has shown that this glacier in the last 60 years has undergone some dramatic area and volume loss. So at the lower reaches of the glacier towards its snout, the snout itself has thinned about 300 meters or 1,000 feet. And collectively over the surface of that glacier, over the 60-year time period, it's lost about 20 cubic kilometers of water equivalent. And so to give you an idea of how to visualize that, the city of Victoria in British Columbia is about 20 square kilometers. So that's like taking the city and filling it with 1,000 meters of water.
Menounos believes the changes in British Columbia's glaciers could have a profound effect on our world.
The changes that we're seeing for many of the mountain glaciers in British Columbia and in many parts of the world, the end place for that melting ice is the global oceans. And we have witnessed changes in sea level in the last 100 years, and a substantial component of that has been due to melting mountain glaciers. The amount of ice that we've lost in the province between 1985 and 1999 can account for about 1 to and perhaps 1.5 millimeters of sea level rise. And some of the more recent work that we're doing is trying to not only quantify the amount of change that's occurred in recent times, but also to project that forward. Some of the preliminary work to date shows that some of the largest ice fields in the province will remain, but many of the smaller glaciers will likely disappear in the next 100 years.
And Menounos believes glacial changes can be traced to human activity.
We know, and the science is fairly clear to show that with increasing CO2, largely due to the use of fossil fuels, that we have been increasing the integrated temperature of the planet. And we know that warmer temperatures tends to melt snow and ice at lower elevations. I think we as humans have to essentially wake up and decide what's important. We have to think about our own lifestyles and whether we're willing to live with less. Back in the 70s, a lot of people talked about conservation. It doesn't seem to be talked about much anymore. But I think collectively, we as a global community need to think about alternative ways of generating electricity and energy, and really thinking about future generations.
Next, we soar high above the jagged islands of the Pacific coast and explore one of the West Coast's great marine ecosystems in peril. The central British Columbia coast is an awe-inspiring stretch of marine perimeter. It is an eerie journey, tracing the exposed waters of the Pacific, covered in a signature shroud of mist. The Central Coast region is located northeast of Vancouver Island, a barren region devoid of large towns and cities. The only access here is by boat or float plane. Amazingly, this beauty stretches far beyond the horizon. Measured in a straight line, British Columbia's coast spans just under 1,000 kilometers. But with inlets and islands factored in, that total rises dramatically to 25,000 stunning kilometers. Further north, the landscape rises, and rolling hills adorned with lush forests stretch as far as the eye can see. Beyond the hills, we reach stunning Scandinavia Bay, a reference to the fjords of Norway and Sweden that hold a distinct resemblance to British Columbia's coastal inlets. Scandinavia Bay is part of a larger body of water known as Rivers Inlet. It is traditional territory for the Awikano First Nation, set in one of the world's largest remaining tracts of temperate rainforest. But in recent years, Rivers Inlet's ecosystem has suffered, leaving scientists to investigate this world-class ecosystem, now at risk.
Rivers Inlet is in a central BC coast. It's a little bit north of Vancouver Island, if you look at the northern tip of the Vancouver Island, and then look a little bit to your right on the mainland, that would be Rivers Inlet Rivers Inlet. It's a fjord-like ecosystem. It's about 40 kilometers long and 300 and something kilometers deep, a few miles across. And it's fed by the freshwater lake, which is right north to this.
Rivers Inlet has long been known for its unique marine life, supporting one of the largest sockeye salmon populations on the west coast.
It's unique because it's a small, relatively small fjord which housed enormous population of salmon. And the question was always why and how this was possible that such a simple system, small system, can actually support the third largest run of the Sockeye salmon in the British Columbia coast.
Salmon would spend 1 year in the freshwater lake, then pass through Rivers Inlet to the Pacific, returning 2 years later. But somewhere along the line, that cycle was disrupted.
Rivers Inlet used to supply or kind of produce annually during the whole 20th century anything between 750,000 to about 1 million fish per year. And in the 70s, something happened and the stock became very unstable. And in the 90s, it's collapsed to less than 1% of the historical returns.
To understand the problem, Dr. Yevgeny Pakhomov and team began taking a broad look at the entire Rivers Inlet ecosystem.
Most of our research was actually dedicated to figure out what went wrong there. The Rivers Inlet ecosystem study, of course, it's a large team of researchers. When we started working in the Rivers Inlet, we started really looking at the entire ecosystem, from viruses to fish. All the components of the ecosystem were investigated. It's a very difficult task because we don't know how the ecosystem looked like 50 or 40 or 60 years ago. But by understanding how the ecosystem functions, we probably will be able to understand what might have happened. We have a few hypotheses to investigate, and this either could be due to climate change. The major climate change happened in the area in 70s and 90s, or due to overfishing.
Fortunately, Pakhomov believes Rivers Inlet may be turning a corner with small gains year by year.
I think the future is kind of good, I would say, because the First Nations are now in negotiations. They've been already for a while to claim the land. The logging stopped, and now we mostly have a helicopter logging in the area. The fishery is still closed, and it will remain closed until the stock will rebound. But what we observe lately that the stock kind of stabilized at a new level. So if in the past returns were in excess of about 1 million fish. Now we have returns in excess of about 100,000 to 200,000 fish. And it will remain closed until we will have sustainable returns over 200,000 fish in the ecosystem.
But Pakhomov says overfishing and climate change are no longer the only dangers facing Rivers Inlet.
Since this is a quite unique ecosystem, it can be damaged by the oil spills. We have an example of Exxon Valdez, how damaging this was to the polar ecosystem. And the Rivers Inlet, from my point of view, is a very similar ecosystem, which could have the same consequences.
Back to the coast, we head north, exploring the stunning Hakai protected area and the near ghost town of Ocean Falls. Kilometers north of Vancouver Island, the islands off British Columbia's Pacific coast hold a landscape unique in the world. North of Hecate Island, Hakai Passage is a scenic waterway. Hakai is from the Haltzuk language, meaning wide passage. It has been traditional territory of the Haltzuk people for thousands of years. The abundance of food and resources encouraged the establishment of permanent settlements here. Oral tradition reveals the original Haltzuk settlers were placed here by the Creator before the time of the Great Flood. Continuing north, Sterling Island and Underhill Island are at the heart of a region known as the Hakai Protected Area. It measures more than 1,200 square kilometers of protected wilderness. The rugged landscape, molded over time by vicious winds and pounding waves, features sandy beaches, tidal rapids, lagoons, and mountain peaks a kilometer high. It is the second largest marine protected area on the British Columbia coast. To the northeast, Codville Lagoon Marine Provincial Park is set on King Island, in the body of water known as Fitzhugh Sound. It features hiking trails, sandy beaches, and safe anchorage for recreational boaters on a pristine, secluded freshwater lake. Beyond Codville Lagoon, Fisher Channel leads northwest. The channel was first charted by Captain George Vancouver in 1793 and named in honor of a much-respected friend. To the north, Cousins Inlet leads inland toward the first remnants of modern civilization along this coast. This is the town of Ocean Falls. It was first surveyed by the Bella Coola Pulp and Paper Company at the beginning of the 20th century. A mill was operating here by 1912, harnessing the power of a waterfall connecting Link Lake with Cousins Inlet. It was soon the largest mill in British Columbia. "3,500 people lived here, with an active school system, hospital, and hotel. Today, the town has been nearly abandoned, home to just a few dozen full-time residents. An odd reminder of an industrial time past in the heart of BC's inland waterways. Next, a return to civilization at the outpost of Shearwater and an excursion into the wildlife and scenery of British Columbia's Central Coast. British Columbia's Central Coastal Region is a vast, barren expanse of shoreline. From the northern tip of Vancouver Island to the Hakai protected area and beyond, this stretch of coast is nearly devoid of human civilization. Finally, just southwest of Ocean Falls, on Campbell Island, the community of Bella Bella is the largest settlement in the region. It is home to 4,000 residents, traditional territory for the Haltzuk First Nation. Kilometers away on Denny Island, the outpost of Shearwater is another unique landmark. It was initially developed as an anti-submarine bomber station during World War II. The settlement was later abandoned, then restored as a coastal fishing resort. Today, it features a hotel, laundromat, restaurant, and general store. A well-known anchorage and stopping point for marine vessels and float planes coming and going from the Central Coast. Together, Shearwater and Bella Bella are surrounded by an amazing landscape. And here on Denny Island, one organization is devoted to maintaining this pristine environment. Ian McAllister is the co-founder of Pacific Wild.
Right now we're in the middle of the Great Bear Rainforest. We're on Denny Island, which is in Haltzuk First Nation territory. And if you were to draw a line between the Alaskan Panhandle and the northern portion of Vancouver Island, that's where you'd find us.
Along with a small team of researchers, McAllister's life mission is promoting and protecting this unique ecosystem.
We're a wildlife conservation organization. We've been studying bears and wolves and salmon ecosystems, marine environment. We've got an ongoing whale research project happening here. But we've been doing this for about 20 years, and our mission is really to better understand the coastal environment, coastal ecosystem, both above and below water. We've built a really great team to do that.
The organization takes a high-tech approach to studying natural life here. Today, Pacific Wild's Max Backen is in the final stages of installing a live feed observation station using microphones, a camera, and transmitter.
Today I'm heading out. We're going to go to a camera site we've got. We're monitoring salmon and any terrestrial animal activity on this river system. I'm just completing the final stages of the installation today, and yeah, we should have it up for the next 2 months and be able to monitor what's happening in the area with respect to the salmon run and also what's feeding on them. So here we go.
Pacific Wild keeps the location of their observation stations a guarded secret. This one is a few kilometers away from Denny Island.
One of the things about the timing of this installation is we're all about low impact and not being too invasive with our installation. So we got the majority of this in before any of the salmon were even coming up the stream. Putting the finishing touches on it now, not a big deal. You know, we're trying not to come in here early in the morning or at dusk when there is a higher chance of there being animals feeding on the salmon.
But even now, at midday, thousands of salmon pass by the hull of the boat. On shore, Backen checks the camera that will capture live video of this feeding area.
So right here we've got our PTZ camera. That stands for Pan Tilt Zoom. And this is what we're looking through in the float lab. So we're able to view this whole river system here, the estuary and the river, and see salmon coming up here. You're able to remotely control the camera by the motor, Pan Tilt Zoom, so it turns left to right, up and down, and we'll zoom in and out. Our radio is up in this cedar that's leaning over the river here, a little white box up there.
Like household electronics, the transmitter can malfunction and require a simple manual reset.
Yeah, so it's good up here. Got 4 out of 5 bars, which is really good signal. Need something like that for video because we're transmitting a lot more data than we are with just audio. I can see the mountain from here, and I can actually think I can make out the tower, so definitely have a nice line of sight and good signal today.
With the transmitter fully functional, Backen checks and labels the fuel cell, the power source for the entire operation.
So this is basically our power plant. We've got a fuel cell in the bushes here, which contains all the electronic components for the camera setup. Also a fuel cell, which is like a backup power supply, 12-volt battery, and the power components for our solar panel, which is a third source of power for this camera setup. Now, you've got this big sign on top of this fuel cell here. It says, "Caution, be careful." But that's often not enough to kind of deter people from at least prying inside. So we just printed out a little piece of paper to kind of explain whose equipment this is and what it's doing here. So we've never had any problems with vandalism or theft, but to hopefully prevent that ever happening, we like to be pretty open with what's going on here. So here we are opening the fuel cell. One of the big challenges out here is getting power to a remote location in the forest, and also getting signal from that remote location. So once you can kind of be sure you can get the signal, you want to make sure you have a reliable source of power, because if you're seeing wolves and the camera cuts out because you don't have enough power, it's a pretty big bummer. Here's our solar panel. We've got it facing south with sort of the maximum exposure we can achieve in the river system here. Here's our cables running back to the fuel cell box, and they kind of just go along through the bushes. Because this is a pretty temporary installation, we tend not to use any conduit or anything like that, and for the most part, these cables are safe. It's when we start crossing streams and stuff with cables that they get explored and chewed on sometimes. So yeah, this is just, this keeps the battery charged and takes the pressure off the fuel cell. Most of the time, with weather like this, we don't need to use the fuel cell at all, but it'll kick in if the battery drops below. A lot of this is about public awareness and just showing people what's actually happening out here. It's easy to explain to someone or write a whole book about what's actually happening out here, but actually seeing live footage from a river in your area and what's happening on it can have a huge impact on the people in this area and people all around the world.
Back at Pacific Wild headquarters, Diana Chan prepares to monitor the feed.
This is our computer setup right over here. On the top, this is one of our remote cameras that we have set up at the moment, overlooking a river where the salmon will be spawning. We've already seen wolves, and hopefully we'll be capturing more wolves and black bears feeding on the salmon in the coming weeks. And so we're able to control the camera remotely. We can pan around and zoom in. These cameras can pan around 360 degrees, so we have a great view of the entire river.
From the lab, the team is able to document wildlife and share this close-up view of nature within their community.
This is really just about studying the wolves in this area, and really just about bringing this into the school so that the youth in the area can understand what's going on in their local ecosystems.
It is a bold project on a unique stretch of coast, and now Pacific Wild is expanding, studying the wider coastal region. They are developing an infrastructure to study whale habitat and migration along this coast.
We're developing a hydrophone network for the Central Coast so that we can monitor whale populations and shipping noise. There are existing hydrophone networks to the south of us and to the north, but there's been a big gap on the Central Coast. Down here to the south is Orca Lab, these green ones. The red ones are Cetacea Lab to the north. And before we started, there was just no acoustic monitoring between the two. But now these yellow balloons are markers for our hydrophones, and the blue markers are potential sites that we'll be adding next season.
Next, an offshore adventure with Pacific Wild, exploring untouched river systems at the gateway to the Great Bear Rainforest. The communities of Bella Bella and Shearwater lie just inland from British Columbia's central coastline. They are part of a world-famous ecosystem set at the entrance to the Great Bear Rainforest. It is a region that environmental advocate and wildlife photographer Ian McAllister has promoted for more than 20 years.
I think people around the world are still learning that Canada has this magnificent rainforest here. But certainly the defining element is that it's coastal related. So, it's remarkable that you can have these towering trees. Some of the largest trees on the planet are found in this coastal rainforest. But it's highly influenced by the maritime environment. The ocean is what brings nutrients that feed these forests, but also keep the temperature relatively temperate. That's why they're called temperate rainforests.
Decades ago, McAllister was one of the first of a new generation successfully battling government and industry in the name of conservation.
Things have changed remarkably here. When we first arrived in the late 80s, the environment was extremely combative. It was really about provincial government who was dead set on liquidating and logging all of the ancient forests that were found here after they had finished up on Vancouver Island on the South mainland coast. So the idea that, when we arrived and began working with coastal communities and other non-government groups and proposing very large-scale conservation protection measures, large conservation plans for the temperate rainforest, it was met with a lot of opposition, both by government and industry. We were really treading new water at that time. When we first came here, this area was designated just as a place where fiber would be extracted, and all of these forests were slated to be logged. And through the recognition of this place through films and photography and books, and bringing people here and showcasing it, in its true light, which is really just a magnificent coastline full of bears and wolves and salmon and whales and First Nations culture that have been living here for so many thousands of years. People from around the world have told Canada that we should do more to protect it, and the Canadian governments, strongly urged by the Canadian public, have helped initiate some strong protective measures here. Today we've got about 30% or so of the rainforest protected.
But in the midst of fighting for rainforests, McAllister believes the marine environment was inadvertently left behind.
Now we really have to play catch-up and ensure that some very robust, strong marine conservation plans are put in place here. There's many pipelines for liquid natural gas, for diluted bitumen coming from the tar sands of Alberta, to other projects, and it's all energy related. The problem is that there's never been a strategy, not a coast-wide strategy and not even a national energy strategy to look at, what is acceptable, how many pipelines, do we want any pipelines, do we want oil tankers on this coast, do we want liquid natural gas tankers, the impact on whales, on salmon, on spirit bears, and so much of what this place is about is very serious.
Now, McAllister is bringing the beauty of this marine ecosystem to the world. His photographs and books are well known, proving a powerful tool in spreading his message.
I tried to describe this coast with the words at my disposal, and they were just inadequate, and I realized that this is such a visual place. This is so magnificent. There's so many icons, of the great wilds of Canada situated right here on this coastal rainforest that I needed to figure out how to take some pictures. And so I spent a long time taking a lot of lousy pictures, and I still do today, but they're getting a little better. But the main thing is that I can carry these images with me and tell a story.
Today, he is embarking on a new excursion, exploring the far reaches of this ecosystem.
We're about to go through a very narrow passageway that opens up into the gateway to the winter village sites for the Haltzuk First Nation, but also the gateway to some of the most magnificent salmon rivers on the entire coast of the Great Bear Rainforest. So there's a multitude of river inlets that we could head up towards, but they just head off like a spoke in the wheel, and we're right in the hub of it right now.
by dusk, he reaches his destination at the end of a long, winding inlet, more than 3 hours from his departure point on Denny Island. He waits until morning to begin documenting this unexplored corner of the Earth. At dawn, McAllister boards a Zodiac and heads for shore.
Well, when you enter these river systems for the first time, if you haven't been here, and you just never know what you're going to find, whether it's a pack of wolves, black bears, grizzly bears, could be a spirit bear here, wolverines. It's an amazing amount of wildlife diversity, and it's all concentrated right here in the river valley. So it's a lot of it's about the unknown, what might be possible to capture in images, tell a story about the rainforest.
On approach, salmon are everywhere. McAllister prepares to document his surroundings. Today's adventure will capture an untouched river system in an ethereal light, a landscape unimaginable to many around the world. This will be just part of McAllister's larger collection, featuring wolves, bears, and other incredible marine wildlife in their natural settings.
It's a challenging place to photograph. Usually it's pouring rain, it's tough on equipment, it's tough on logistics, and a lot of the wildlife is nocturnal. And it's like many people have never seen the Great Barrier Reef or the Grand Canyon or the Amazon Basin or the Serengeti or so many amazing places in the world, but they want to know those countries are doing their best to protect them. And I think people look at Canada the same way. They want to know that Canada is doing the best that it can do to protect the Great Bear Rainforest because it has so many globally important species. And photography plays a big role in that. It's been a lifelong challenge to capture images from this part of the world, and I realize that I've still got another lifetime left to try and do it as well.
From the tiny islands and jagged coastlines of Broughton Archipelago Marine Park to the vast ice sheets and glaciers lining the frigid Haltzuk ice field, to Denny Island and the unbelievable inlets, river systems, and landscapes surrounding. British Columbia's Central Coast carries a legacy that is now known throughout the world. It holds the story of our past in its wildlife and scenery. The diverse communities demonstrate a vibrant present. And in the vast waterways, our future may be revealed. here on the edge of Canada.